All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Once again.
Cheers. Cheers. Yes.
Yao, honestly, thank you so much for coming on the show and spending the time with us.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're fucking crazy busy, but I think the timing was actually perfect. And by the way, I'm gonna give a shout out to Stephen Yuan from Shades of Yellow podcast who introduced us. But I think it's the new year. What is it, like January 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's talking about 2021. Thank God 2020 is over. We can look ahead.
Right.
A new chapter in all our collective lives.
Right.
And while I love that, and I think we all need anything to kind of propel us forward, anything we can latch onto right now.
Absolutely.
Because everyone's been through the blender
Absolutely.
in 2020. But it's like this kind of artificial construct of time where it's like marking like an end of the year where it's like, that's really just a human artificial construct, right?
I completely agree.
So, but I think while it can be a little cliche to be like, well, 2020, how was your 2020? It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think from everything that I've read about you and that I understand, I think you've really been through the blender more than most. Well, maybe not more than most, but more than a lot of people I know this year. And I kind of want to just kind of get your thoughts on what your perspective and focus is in moving forward, having learned or gone through all the kind of hardships and challenges during this last year.
Absolutely. That's a great question. 2020 is difficult for everybody, right? And I completely agree with you said earlier. Like, it's just because the calendar flipped doesn't mean your problems are going away. And I think it's also important to kind of understand that a lot of issues that happen in 2020, it's not because of 2020. It's because of human beings. And I think that, if... And like you said, man, like, give people a break. Anything good that people can latch onto and celebrate, they should fucking celebrate it. Everything beautiful, everything good in life. But also at the same time, I think that it is important to kind of reflect on 2020 and realize that, if we do not reflect on ourselves as human beings, there's going to be a lot more fucking 2020s. In the future, and I think that that's one takeaway that I've gotten out of is better self-reflection, and really understand what's the North Star. I'm a very, very big fan of Gary Vee, and this is what Gary Vee always talks about. What's the North Star? What's perspective is the word, right? And I think that so many of us judge the North Star based on monetary success and yada, yada, yada. And, it's great. But I think happiness ultimately is what it needs to be, and I think that that's my biggest takeaway for 2020 is that, I just want to be happy. I just, in whatever that means, in whatever form that might be. I'm not going to pass that judgment onto myself. I'm not going to pass that judgment onto others. Just really, really love every single moment that you spend with the people that you love and people that you care for. I'm fucking loving this moment right here, hanging out with you guys. Like really enjoy these moments, and I think that's it, man. That and no expectations.
No expectations.
No expectations.
That's important, but that's hard, right?
It is.
That's really hard.
It is. We hope.
Yeah, right? We hope way too much.
I know.
And we expect way too many things.
Yeah.
But talking about great moments, just to give the listeners a little bit of background, obviously, you're the owner and operator of the Union Trading Company, along with many other kind of hats you wear and doing other jobs as well. But, Union Trading Company here is a really successful and well-known and celebrated neighborhood bar in Shanghai. And you guys are kind of like, when I see you guys and I see when I think of the Union Trading Company, I think of like Cheers, like
right.
a place where like everyone knows your name.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it's kind of a hole in the wall, but not really a hole in the wall,
It kind of is.
Right? But it's that atmosphere that I think a lot of people really like. And on top of that, you guys are like really well known. You guys are in the top 50 Asian bars, right? Like consecutively, like throughout
4 years.
For the last 4 years,
Yeah.
right? You guys are like what, ranked number 30 now or something like that?
It went from number 9 and then to number 30.
Is that something that you really pay attention to?
I used to, not anymore, to be really honest with you. You know, I think it's just a huge like ego thing, you know, for my own sake. But quite frankly, I talked to a friend about this, and you know, I was like, look, man, here's a few things. My team's happy, you know, our guests are happy, and we're profitable. So who gives a shit? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know,
Amen to that.
Yeah,
Amen to that.
I mean, if you can control the way you think and be able to say that confidently, I think that's a huge.
Trust me, it took me a while to get there.
So is this like a recent kind of mindset change?
I would think so. You know, it was another 2020 reflection.
Are you like a little less competitive now? Like in the beginning, you were probably like competing with like other bars around the world, even in Shanghai, Singapore, Hong Kong, wherever.
Definitely. Well, because like I think a lot of people understand is owning a bar is such a personal thing, right? Like you I mean, as gentlemen, I think that it's fair to say at some point in our lives we all wanted to open a bar, right? Like, you know,
For sure.
And so thank you so much. You know, you open a bar based on your image, I guess, based on your ideas, and
It's like
you
an
know,
extension of yourself,
it's an
actually.
extension of yourself, and you want people to recognize it. You know, like you know, you want people to tell you that your baby's pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
A random question, right?
Yeah.
So when they announce like your ranking and stuff like that, when does that happen, and like what format?
So there's two major ones. There's World's Top 50 bars, and then there's Asia's Top 50. They belong to the same organization, and so Asia's Top 50s get announced in May. And then World's Top 50 gets announced in October. Traditionally, the World's Top 50 is always hosted in London. And there's a giant ceremony. They also host London Cocktail Week adjacent to the big event. And so, like, you know, like if you decided that you want to go to London, you can go dress up, and then there's like a big screen and a big party and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Asia's Top 50, they started doing that recently in the past 2 years, except this year because of you know what. And prior to that, the first 3 years, I think it was just online. Like they do like a Facebook Live countdown or something like that.
So you don't even know the result, or do they tell you before the show?
Oh, they tell you before. They'll tell you, congratulations, your bar has been named Asia's Top 50. Please follow this account, and we will be announcing at
They
this
email
time.
you?
So you know before the public does.
Yeah, but they don't tell me your ranking though. They just let you know that you're in
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
if you want to
right,
see the
right.
ranking, follow the whatever thing. So.
And that doesn't get announced until the day of, kind of.
Yes.
Do you feel like the rankings really have any sort of material impact at your actual business?
It used to. I want to say not anymore. I remember like the second year of Union when when we started getting hot, and that was the first time that we got ranked number 9, best bar in Asia, and then we started winning all these awards and things like that. I think it's a great way to, especially if you're a new business, right? Like it's a great way to advertise yourself, and just be like, hey, this is what we're all about. We have accomplished all this within fucking 2 years of opening. It attracts people, but I think ultimately you don't want to use that as a leverage to attract people. What you want people to come, and you want people to actually really love your place.
Yeah.
I want people to be like, hey man, like I had a really, really good time at Union, with a few of my friends, as opposed to let's check out this bar because I heard they're ranked. It's like
It's like you don't want to marry someone just based on their appearances,
Absolutely.
right? Because the appearances fade over time, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we're very, very lucky to have established a very supportive community. Yeah, man, we're doing okay.
Well, knock on wood about that. But I mean, this year, I mean, there was a long stretches of time where you guys weren't doing okay, right? Like you almost shut down the bar.
Yeah, we had like 1 more month to live.
Whoa.
Yeah. So walk us through that and like your mindset and how you kind of got through that.
It's called desperation. Well, okay, so when everything was happening, was right after Chinese New Year's, right? And so during Chinese New Year's, we always give our staff bonus. And so like whenever, like the month before Chinese New Year's is always the biggest spend of cash flow we have because, we want to, give a little something to our team.
Yeah.
And then when this happened, after the whole horrible February, we just realized that this shit is serious. We are still paying rent. We are still paying salaries.
Was your bar was already shut down at that time?
We were already shut down at that time.
Okay, so you were forced to shut down,
We were forced to
along
shut
with
down.
pretty much every other business.
Along with pretty other business, exactly. And as soon as we realized that, for me it was just, well, we literally only have like 1 month left of capex, and so we need to find whatever fucking way that we can to generate whatever revenue whatsoever. So we were one of the first bars in Shanghai, in China, really, to start doing delivery cocktails. It wasn't like lucrative or anything, but like, it was money.
Like every little thing helped.
But it was
Every
something.
Little
It was something.
penny helped, right? We started doing delivery cocktails, which was supported by a lot of our very, very dear friends and regulars. That accounted to about 10% of what regular revenue used to be. But hey, still, we work with a lot of different platforms like Laiba, which is another deliver to your home cocktail with their own brand. We did that. We work with t-shirt makers and, did the whole support local, bar t-shirt campaign that generated revenue. We had a lot of talks with our team. For me, being transparent with your team, it's super important. And, they need to understand what's going on as well. We all decide that, we were all going to take a pay cut. We're all in this together. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I read in the article that talking about the transparency aspect that you were super, super transparent with your entire team, basically opening up the books to them and showing them the actual numbers.
Absolutely.
You were like, this is what we're making, this is what our costs are, this is what I'm losing.
That's right.
And kind of we're all in this together kind of mentality. And so what are we all going to do about this?
Absolutely.
So, wow. Like, was that...
What was the reaction of the people?
Yeah, well...
of your staff?
Very mature, very understanding. They're not idiots. Like, they know what's going on, right? Like, they can see everything that's happening around them. If anything, it actually pumped them up because they do realize that, we do trust them. And we do see them in this industry. There's a lot of talk about, we're family, we're a family. Well, it's like, well, fucking treat each other like family, man. You know what I'm saying? Your team. These are the guys that you see a lot more than you see your parents, quite frankly. Everyone was pumped. Everyone was like, all right, fuck it, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all make collective sacrifices. As long as this place goes. As long as this place is okay, we're gonna be okay.
Were you a little hesitant to make that decision in the beginning when you're thinking about like, should I really open up and show them all the numbers? Or
Absolutely not.
No, you were just like, I have to do this.
I have to do this. I have to do this. So like, Union Trading Company. The reason why we're called Union Trading Company. So union, obviously by definition, is people from different backgrounds coming together for a common purpose, right? And then trading company. So for me, a bar is, you have to realize, like, what's the purpose of a bar existing? It's not the most economical place to be social, It's not the cheapest place to drink. A bottle of whiskey at the bar is going to be, 10 times more expensive than going to a liquor shop, right? But a bar exists because I think that as human beings, we crave interaction. We crave, friendship, right? And when you're in a bar, when you're having a good time at the bar, what you remember is the people that you're with. Yeah. You remember all the conversations that you had. You probably don't fucking remember what's the third drink that you had that night, right? Like, you don't,
or the seventh.
Or the seventh. And so, like, for us, like, yes, like, booze is what we use to pay our bills. Absolutely. This is our product. This is what we sell. This is what we monetize. But at the end of the day, what we're really trading is that human friendship, is that human interaction. And so what we do is we train everybody as bartenders. We don't differentiates like, oh, your floor staff or anything like that. Everyone's a bartender. But they rotate shifts. So you work 3 days behind the bar, you work 2 days on the floor. The reason for doing that is, first of all, running the floor is a great way to train your self-confidence. It's a great way, because you're forced to talk to people, right? If you're a bartender, you can just kind of look at tickets and just do tickets. But if you're running the floor, you need to talk to people, So there's that. And also, I think it's super, super important for me is that when you are, it doesn't matter if you're a bartender, you're a chef, or you're floor staff, you're working in hospitality. You're a hospitality professional. And for me, a hospitality professional is well-rounded. This person can be called to do whatever that is required for the team at any given moment.
Yeah,
it's
Swiss
a
Army
Swiss
knife
Army
in person.
knife,
Yeah.
And so like if the bar's backed up, we can pull someone from the floor immediately, and that guy can start making drinks with their coworkers, or the floor's jammed. A bartender comes out and starts waiting floors, So it makes us a lot more flexible,
Well, yeah, you come from the States, right?
Right.
You're from Texas. You come here, Shanghai, open up a bar, and talking about the hospitality industry and how like people need to be able to interact with people, like have a high EQ. Right?
Absolutely.
Was there any cultural hurdles you had to kind of deal with in terms of, I guess, the kind of outward, characteristics of how like a lot of local Chinese typically are? They're a little more introverted. They're a little more, I don't know if shy is the right word, but they're just a little more reserved. Like they're not going to say something or express necessarily their opinion unless specifically asked.
Absolutely.
And even when asked, they might hold back still.
Absolutely.
Just because it's culturally, that's kind of how it is.
Yes.
Was that an issue for you in terms of kind of the vibe you wanted to create it at your bar?
Yes, absolutely. Huge. When I just, because like working in the States, right? I mean, we all come from the States, and it's like, especially bartenders, people just naturally have that confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People
Yeah.
just naturally have that confidence. You
Kinda have to.
Well, Americans like also are just like showboats, right?
Right.
Like they're full of confidence. A lot of them are like have a lot of ego.
Right. Everybody
And-
wants to be alpha,
And in America, most bartenders and waiters and waitresses are looking for entertainment jobs anyway, and they're just doing that job as a part-time gig, right? But their main goal is to try to be an actor or whatever it is, a celebrity, really.
Especially in LA.
Yeah, so they try to put on a show, and they're this kind of mentality. And,
Right. So I think like working in the States, one of the biggest hurdles is really discipline. Making sure that people can work as a team under the same structure. Now, that is not an issue working here. What the issue was, exactly like what you said, is actually the complete opposite. It's a lack of confidence. I think that when you say people are reserved, people are, they don't really want to express what they say. I think for me, it really comes down to a lack of confidence, because they don't what they want to say. They don't want to offend anybody. They question whether or not their opinion is right. And I think that comes in from a very Eastern culture perspective, right? Growing up, I don't know about y'all, but my parents was always whatever you do is not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? If you fucking make a 95 on your tests, it's not like, oh, good job, you made a 95. Is where the fuck did the other 5 points go?
Yeah.
And
Did
so,
you get beat, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah. Like a motherfucker, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah. God damn it. That's why we're all in. Are your parents back in Texas, by the way? Or are they
My
here?
mom's in Dallas. My dad lives in San Jose. But no, so what was very important for me at Union was to give them encouragement. We're talking about kids growing up, especially in more rural sides in Eastern China and whatnot. Kids lack encouragement growing up, and so I think that. What was important for me was, one thing about Union is that apart from a basic dress code, right? You have to wear the apron as your uniform. You have to wear a shirt. You have to wear, long trousers and comfortable shoes. You can wear whatever fucking patterned shirt that you want to. You can wear whatever colored pants that you want to. Because for me, that is from a very, very basic primal way of telling them that you have the freedom to choose how you want to look today, as long as you're following these basic guidelines. But I strongly believe in the freedom of your aesthetics is the first step to a lot of different freedoms. And so that's the very first thing, right? No dress dress codes apart from just a very basic guideline. I encourage them on the most, I tell them that they did a really good job on the most
Like
smallest
mundane.
things, and the logic is like, well, I'm fucking paying you to do this. Like, what would you want, a fucking cookie? Well, quite frankly, here, yeah, you got to give a lot of fucking cookies, just because they want to be known that, I see you working. I see you trying to do this.
Like reinforcing positive behavior.
Reinforcing positive behavior, I mean, still calling out their bad behavior.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely, spending a lot more time explaining to them why they're doing these things as opposed to just doing them.
Yeah.
And what you start realizing is that the more you do that, 6 months later, 1 year later, you start seeing their own personality, They start having the confidence to start cracking jokes now. They're getting a little cheeky with you. Now, you know what I'm saying?
Talking back sometimes.
Yeah, talking back sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. And I fucking love that because that comes off, that confidence rubs off on guests. And now all of a sudden, you're not bartender A you're not the bartender with glasses from that one bar. You're Leo, who works at Union Trading Company. And you're a fucking cool dude. And next time I'm going to come, I'm going to fucking start looking for you. And they love it, like they're constantly getting encouragement. It's
I think what you just said is huge because one thing that I've definitely noticed through the years of working here and leading staff is when you do give that extra encouragement or extra gratitude or that cookie, like you said, a lot of times you might get the response of, 没有，应该的.
Right.
Right? It's like, this is my job. I'm supposed to do it. And it's always like, no. You can't just think like that.
Right.
This is not, you're not here just for a paycheck.
Right.
You know what I mean? You should be respectful and proud of what you do.
I always just tell them, it's like, yes, it is your job. It is your job. And maybe to you, it is, 是应该的. But still.
Yeah, but still.
I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
You did a really good job.
It just shows to them how much it means to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
As the operator or the owner or their boss or whoever it is or their partner, it just shows to you like, this is what's important to me. These are the values I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And yes, of course it's your job.
Yeah.
But exactly what you just did there, how you just behaved right there, that's what I
appreciated.
love.
Yeah.
Right. And it just gives them that extra boost to be like, okay, well, that's how I'm going to be.
And it's interesting what you just said because it took, like you said, 6 months where you started seeing that shift. Right? That personality shift. And I can see that, yes, it takes time. Because maybe the first time or the second time you do it, they'll be like, okay.
Right.
Cool. Right. But it won't sink in.
Yeah, you got to kind of break them
It
down
won't
a little
sink
bit.
in. After you do it a bunch of times, and then maybe they start feeling that sort of confidence or that other
I mean, when you
perspective.
say it enough, they start believing in it, right? When you say it once, they're kind of like, oh, he's just being nice. Okay, cool. Whatever.
Well, are we generalizing or have you had exceptions to that rule come in and they were just like right from the get-go, they were just like pretty much like full of confidence,
One or two, and that's great. That just means that
less training.
But it's the very few in between. It's once in a blue
very
moon,
few
in your experience.
Yes.
I think I can't help but keep thinking back to the thing you just said about like kind of an overlooked simple, but like psychologically it's probably like the most immediate thing for people to start expressing themselves is the direct clothing, right? And it's like such a simple idea, like no one's gonna think twice about that. Like, yeah, of course, like whatever. But when you think about it, like when your freedoms actually do get taken away, whether you go to prison, whether you go to like the military and you become a soldier and things like that to a degree, what's the first thing you notice? Uniforms.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm just thinking about that now, like psychologically, when you're forced to wear something and it's the same as everyone else, there is a very large, significant psychological aspect about that I think a lot of us don't notice in society where, when you think about when your freedoms are really taken away, one of the first things that get taken away is what you can allow to wear. Yeah.
What your hair looks like,
Exactly. How you style yourself. So like that kind of your emphasis on having them like really express themselves, just first off, just such a simple thing.
Right.
Wear what you want.
Right.
Within kind of the accessories you have to wear, but express yourself.
Right.
I mean, that goes a long way.
Do you ever draw the line where somebody walks in with the ugliest shirt and like some really nasty looking down jacket and just looking horrible?
No, we just fucking make fun of him all night.
That's the way. That's the way.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Shame him.
Yeah, dude. It's like, you know what? Yeah, if you think this looks good, I'll tell you right now, it doesn't. I mean, you can wear it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's up
you know,
to you.
it's you can wear it, but I'm just saying, man. You know, we're gonna make
It
fun
probably
of you.
helps to have guys like what Sven and Leo,
Right.
who are like, you know, they're pretty suave, you know.
Right.
I mean, the other thing is people in China these days, like, I mean, I'm like the worst dressed. I used to be very well dressed, relatively speaking. Now, like the local kids, they're like fucking well dressed.
Sure.
They've caught up. Look at
Sure.
the Chinese soccer team. They used to look about a bunch of dorks.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And now they're all fucking like rantofa, fucking, you know,
Yeah.
good hairstyles. I mean,
Yeah.
China's like totally changing. It's not like, you know, it's not the China we knew from before.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's not the 90s anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, you used to just wear Gap and you were like a fucking badass, right? now, if I walked into your
Yeah.
place, you
You wear
fucking now I wear a Gap, you start clowning my shit. You know what I'm saying? I walk in and be like, ha ha ha, Sabi.
You used to be a badass. Poor guy.
In Gap.
Yeah.
Seriously, man.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's so
I didn't even
true,
use
though.
the fucking hair gel. Now you lap my ass
like
off.
he's wearing Gap. Oh, look at
Before
that
I came
rebel.
here,
Right.
I was like, oh fuck, yeah, I was on the show. That guy's pretty badass.
I appreciate it.
I walked out the door and I'm like, oh, 忘了放那个法尼.
Funny,
And then I went back.
Is that a jean jacket? Goddamn. Well, were you so you opened Union Trading? What is 6 years ago, right?
6 years ago, yes.
But before that, you had other bars, right?
I helped other people run bars.
You helped other people run
helped
bars.
other people run bars.
So what's your professional background in terms of leading up to Union Trading Company?
So I went to University of Houston.
Cougars.
Go Cougs. I majored in hotel restaurant management. U of H has one of the best hospitality programs.
Yeah.
You know, in the United States, as well as.
Do you
other-
know David Zhou from Andaz in Shanghai?
I don't.
We got to hang out.
Yeah?
He's from H-Town. He went to U of H.
Get
He's a
out.
GM for Andaz. He's
Oh,
a
get
good,
the fuck out.
good family friend.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, shout out to David.
Shout out to
We
David,
Get him
man.
on the show. But he does his own little fucking, you know, they record shit on all these platforms. So
Sure.
he's been very coy about not coming on our show, you know. But David Zhou,
right.
Andaz,
All right.
Hyatt, Shanghai.
All right.
That's a nice plug for Andaz right there.
I know. It's a good hotel.
I just did the
Random.
Andaz and Shaman. Yeah, I told
Yeah,
you
he
that
does the
earlier.
shaman thing.
So like as well as other majors related to finance because you gotta make the parents happy. I started working behind bars when like fucking 18 years old, I think.
Like bartending?
Bartending, yeah. At a major hotel in the Texas Medical Center in Houston. And then eventually, they needed bartenders, and I just realized, like, you know what, bartenders make more tips. So yeah, fuck it, man. Like, I'll bartend. I got to pay for school anyway.
Yeah.
So, fell in love with it. Obviously a lot of stories happened in between, but like, absolutely fell in love with it. And then eventually, I was like, okay, I want to make this serious. I want to make this a career. And so I eventually started. I applied 4 times, got rejected fucking 4 times by a bar in Houston called Anvil Bar and Refuge. Shout out to you, Bobby. And
Why is it? Was it just like a really like sought after bar?
it's possibly one of the best bars in the United States.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's possibly one of the best cocktail bars. Thank you so much.
What road is it on?
Westheimer.
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 In the house.
Yes, sir.
Nice, Westheimer.
It was on Westheimer, and at the time, like, I mean, I understand. I was like still a college kid,
You reject me?
barely, got
some
any
balls.
bartending experience. But I was like, yeah, fuck it, man. I'm just gonna go back like every single fucking month with my same resume and just be like, y'all want me? Y'all
Hasn't
want me
changed,
now?
bitch.
And sure enough, man, like, 6 months later, they called me up and they're like, all right, so you still want to work here? I was like, yeah.
Were you like Tom Cruise, risky business, like popping, like doing twirling and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
I actually,
Was it that kind of
I
bar?
not risky business, I mean cocktail.
I actually don't know how to flare.
Oh, yeah?
I know.
That's called flaring?
It's called flaring. Yeah,
Okay.
I actually don't know how to flare.
Shame on you, yeah.
I know.
How do you not-
Shame on you.
I'm a horrible
Get
bartender,
out,
dude.
get out, get
I'm
out.
sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, no. So and I started working at Anvil, and then someone I considered to be my mentor, his name's Bobby Hegel. He's the owner of Anvil Bar and Refuge. Taught me everything about, and that was the way that I was trained. It's not just about teaching how to bartend. The thing that Bobby says over and over again is like, I don't train bartenders, I train bar operators. And so, I learned a lot, not just from, running a bar and things like, bartending, but also about running a bar, running a team. And then 10 years ago, a few opportunities, came up here in Shanghai. I lived in Shanghai briefly when I was 10 to 13 or 14 years old. And was actually quite infatuated with the city. I was always, I think there was a sense of nostalgia in there as well. And so I was like, yeah, man, fuck it, let's go to Shanghai. Like, by the time I already graduated, and I was like, let's go to Shanghai, see what.
Kind of just like trying to find a venture kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm young, I'm single, like I got nothing to lose.
It's a charming city.
It is, man. I love
especially
Shanghai,
to be young and single.
I love Shanghai.
What year was this?
This was 2011. September 2011. Yeah.
It's good times back then.
Dude.
It's such a different city back
I know.
then. Such a different city back then.
I know, dude. For the better or worse.
So you came out here and then you've been here ever since?
Ever since. Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
But that's amazing, right? Because you've been here for a while. We've all been here for a while. And I mean, I have constant conversations with other people that have been here for, let's say, a couple of years, right? And they're like, yeah, I plan on leaving soon, whatever. But then you speak to other people that's been here for like 8 years or above, like us. And they were like, yeah, we all said the same thing. But now look at us.
Right.
And we're still here. And there's
Yeah.
a reason for that. I think because of what the city symbolizes, the energy that the city, gives off, the people you meet. I mean, it's quite a city. So I think it's interesting coming from us, from the United States,
Sure.
and then comparing to a city like here, and then being not stuck here, but choosing to be here.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Well, but I feel like it's even more incredible that you're still here and thriving because like coming to a place like Shanghai back then, especially in the industry that you're in, F&B and hospitality, from like a Western background, like it's really tough. Like, I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but it's so tough. Like, I don't think most people understand how tough it is unless they've been through it or been around it or talked to people. But as a Westerner coming in to try to do kind of a Western themed, Western cultured F&B or bar, whatever it was, it's really hard to survive. I mean, it's really hard to survive now, but
Right.
even back then, you were kind
Especially
of
back then.
Yeah, especially back then, because there was really no kind of culture or ecosystem around that.
Right. Absolutely.
You were just alone on an island.
Well, were most of your patrons Westerners or?
At the very beginning, yes.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, yes. And you start to see actually a pretty dynamic shift in this past few years. Union used to be roughly about, I want to say 60% locals, 40% expats. Now, easily 90% locals, 10% expats.
But that's a shift that's been
Everywhere.
happening everywhere.
yeah, right?
Right?
Absolutely.
You go to like some of the
amazing.
nicest Western restaurants, like you sit down for dinner, you look around, sometimes you don't even see a single expat or foreigner in the
Sure.
room.
It's amazing.
And it's all young locals with
That's
spending power.
That's
just
right.
Enjoying the finer things in life,
Absolutely, man. And I think like especially like this generation of younger Chinese people, right? Like first of all, I mean, one thing for the Western audiences out there, fucking China is so technologically advanced.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People
don't know.
Like this ain't fucking like the 70s no more, man. You know what I'm saying? Like so like you have a whole generation of people growing up with technology who are much better educated. Who have world experience, who have traveled, who have disposable income.
Yeah.
They want to experience things and they want to put money on that.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, good for us, I guess.
Well, I guess, but the challenge, I guess, for you going forward is how do you keep up with that standard and expectation of always pushing the bar, right? Because you don't want to get left behind and become like antiquated, right? Like you kind of like, the young people, like just like you're saying, they're growing, they're more exposed, their taste levels are rising, their standards and expectations have risen,
Yes, sir.
skyrocketed. Their spending power has gone up. So like as a business owner, especially in the hospitality industry, like what strategy do you have to kind of keep up with that?
That's a
Especially at
very
the
good
pace it's going
question.
here?
I was actually just thinking about this question, like, just last week, actually. I think, honestly, like, when we just started Union, and this is my fault, I was quite stubborn about having, like, marketing or, like, WeChat accounts. Like there was still a very idealistic side inside of me. Because at the very beginning, a lot of Union success, and the reason why we built such a loyal audience was because Union was a word of mouth place. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always that place where it's like, your friend told you that he or she had a really good time there and you should go visit, And when you do that, you build a very loyal base. And the idealistic side of me was always kind of be like, well, that's all we need. Like that's all we need. Like people who don't get us, fuck them.
Too bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the ignorance in me. And you start very quickly realizing this past 2 years, that is no longer how the game is played. It is a part of how the game is played because it is still important to maintain the service standards where it allows you to, accumulate, to keep, certain guests and whatnot. But I started realizing there's a million places opening every single year, and it's very easy to be drowned out by the noise if you don't make any noise, right? And so for us, we started to switch up our marketing strategy in the past few years. We have an official WeChat account now. We are much more open to working events and things like that. Just doing whatever that we can to keep our name, in the game, really.
Just be more flexible, I guess.
Be more flexible, be more open-minded, different types of events. Like back in the day, man, we will never do fashion shows, dude. Unless this is like some type of foo-foo cocktail party, we're not doing it.
If it wasn't part of like your like brand DNA or like
Right.
mission statement, let's like. But I totally relate to that, and that is one of, I think, from personal experience and just from other people I talk to, especially Westerners coming into China, starting their own businesses, is like this marriage and commitment to be like, no, these are my like values. This is this is my vision.
Right.
And that's what it's gonna. So either take it or leave it kind of mentality, right?
Absolutely.
And I was like that too. I had started like a fashion brand here. Well, we had started a fashion brand here. So it was all about design, brand image, and all that things. And we were like, okay, we gotta stick to our values.
Right.
This is what we want, right?
Right.
And there's this hubris, right?
Right.
There's this hubris.
That's the word. That's the word. Yeah.
There's this hubris in you that's just like, no, man, if they don't get it, then we don't want them as customers anyway, right? But that's a really tough shift to overcome, because there is a point, I think, there's a legitimate argument to be made that you can't just start going wherever the wind blows at any time.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
then you don't really get anywhere with that, right?
I
You
agree.
can't try to please everyone all the time. Otherwise, you're never going any direction.
Absolutely.
So, like, how do you balance that? Or what's your thoughts on balancing that? Because balancing that is the trick in China, I feel, is being able to balance that in the correct ratio.
There's a few things. So, first of all, I think that keeping your values, sticking to your values, and being flexible are not mutually exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Like being flexible is one thing, right? But there is a point that you somehow know that is just not what you guys are about. For example, if fucking Hooters decide to come, ask us to host a wet t-shirt contest, I'm sorry, man. That's we're not doing that.
No,
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not.
I'll do it.
I'll join, but we won't. But we're not going to put our brand on it and be like, oh, wet t-shirt contest, hosted by Union Trading Company. That's that's not a part of our brand DNA. But but also but this year we work with quite a few fashion companies and whatnot, and we start realizing that these are actually fun. These actually open us to a different customer base. And also, like these fashion companies, are reputable companies, and they too represent craftsmanship. They too represent, a commitment to quality, a commitment to service. They don't go against what you guys want. And these are the things that we can do. And I think another step to that, and that's a much more personal thing, is that, you know, a lot of times when we say that, oh, you know, we're sticking to our ideals, you know, we're sticking to whatever hubris, you know, that we form in our head, it's just all in our fucking heads, man. No one's really judging us but ourselves, really.
I think it's about accepting that marketing, that aspect of marketing is not an evil thing.
It's not an evil thing.
You know, because it's not about like sticking to your guns and we are who we are and that's it. Because even through marketing, you can still stick to your guns. And just like you said, right?
Absolutely.
Aligning yourself with like-minded brands or events or people,
Sure,
etc. Right? So it's just about, well, I'm not just going to sit here and wait for word of mouth to spread.
Right.
I'm going to do marketing.
Right.
You know, and marketing is not a negative thing.
We're going to take initiative.
Yeah, we're going to take initiative. We're not going to sit back
Yeah.
and know that marketing is not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This is very fascinating. I want to share a couple of maybe reflections and then tie this to a couple of things, right? Like both from the show and then previous guests. But I think for most things, there is really no business if there's no audience.
Yes.
And, you know, when you think about like, I mean, really just across the board, every great thing that's ever been created, like the Bible or different buildings or art or music, without an audience, you don't have a product.
Absolutely.
Right. And so like, I mean, I think that's a defining sort of principle. And then you connect that to, like, we had Ryan Thorpe on the show, right? So if you, that's a great show. Ryan's also from Texas.
Right on.
Shout out to Ryan, Dr. Ryan Thorpe, professor at Jiao Da. But he's a writer. He's a creative writer, and he's found different ways to introduce both creative writing and then, you know, also his creativity, you know, to China. And, you know, he obviously has all sorts of his own ideas, but to get his book published, he had to work with the publishers to define what the audience wanted. And so, like, you know, all along it was like so similar, right? Like, I mean, you run, you know, these types of bars and establishments, like he writes books and stuff like that, right? But it's all about audience, all about engagement, all about getting people to kind of buy in all this stuff. And it's really, really fascinating that, you know, we had this whole conversation, right? Where, and I think Justin asked a lot of great questions around the commercial side. And he's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not selling out to all this stuff. It's like, I've got a publishing deal for a couple of textbooks.
Sure.
And I've got, like, you know, fantasy novels coming out. And it's like, without an audience, without a definition in the market, you don't have a product at all. There's no creativity. Like Beethoven, all these guys, they actually had patrons and they had to write shit for those guys. And in that process of defining it, they introduced sort of their, you know, creativity, right? The other point is that so one of the you know, I work for like a large tech company, right?
Oh, dude.
And I don't.
Is it a
you know,
fruit? Yes, Yao. Yes. Yes. When I think of large tech companies, that's literally all I think of.
So
Is it a fruit?
I work for a company that can
Orange.
be described in many different ways, but if I just like pull it up, you know, like randomly, it's large, it's innovative, and it's private as fuck in terms of like confidentiality, right? So I can't really talk about it. But one of the parts of the business of our business is that we work with a lot of you know, small, medium enterprise companies, and you know, you have customers that you work with for long term, right? Like they're really, really, really loyal, and this is a massive revenue stream. But you constantly are going after new business as well, you know, because you've got to find new ways because the community is always shifting.
Yes.
It's not static, right?
I'm glad you said that.
And so it's really, really interesting that you've got to constantly evolve. So you know, kind of like the relationship business, so to speak, and the new business, right? So, but I wanted to ask you, I think we're all curious, right? Like what does the customer want in your industry right now, and how's that evolved in the last 6 years? Because like 6 years ago, if you start a bar that had Western standards, you were the fucking shit. Right. Now 6 years later, to Justin's point, it's like, okay, 90% of your customers are local, you know, local folks whose standards are now higher, probably in some ways, than our West, because China's evolving. I mean, just look
at the idea of a Western bar, like, I mean, yours is different in terms of the culture you've built around it, and the fan base you guys, and the kind of like the celebrity you guys have around the bar. But on paper, a Western bar is a dime a dozen here in Shanghai now, right?
Sure. Yeah. And some of the best places are like, I mean, they're run by local people now, right?
Sure.
So I mean, I'm just really curious to kind of extend Justin's questions, like, where is the market heading? Like, what do people want these days?
That's a fantastic question. And once again, this was a question that I thought about not too long ago. I'll say this. This goes back to why does a bar exist, right? Like, and I'm a very, very big believer in this, is that people come to bars for different reasons, right? People come to bars because they want to celebrate. It's their birthday, it's their anniversary, you just got a raise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or the complete...
That's universal. So celebration is universal.
Or the complete opposite. Right?
They want to just like
get away, unplug.
A divorce, a layoff, a tragedy, whatever, right? Like, but they all want the same thing. What they really want is they want to leave the bar happier than when they came in. That is universal.
Yeah.
And so for me, what was important, and I thought about this, right? And I thought about that, we can change, our brand image or who you work with, associate ourselves with, more fun and newer things like that. But I think the core is that we try not to chase about what people want, because thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the past and thousands of years in the future, people want hospitality. Hospitality, a very core, genuine, warmth of hospitality. That is a classic.
So when you say hospitality, you mean like human connection, great services.
It's a human need.
It's human need. Yeah. You come in the first time, right? I'm going to know your name. I'm going to know what you want to drink. The second time you come in, automatically that drink's ready for you. I'm fucking calling your name, giving you a high five the moment you enter the door. The third time you come in, we know your wife's name. We know your dog's name. We know the other girl that's not your wife's name.
I'm going to UTC.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's important. Way,
that's important to know.
I'm going to UTC in about 2 hours. Give them a call. Let them know.
Hey, I got you, brother. It's that. It's coming in and just be being able to pronounce your name, give you a handshake, and just be like, hey man, good to see you again, dude. Not like, well, sir, it's good to see you again, sir. Yeah. No, it's like, dude, it's good to see you again, dude. How you been? Here's your drink you had from last time. Have a seat, dude. Shoot the shit, whatever. That genuineness, that
vibe.
Warmth, that vibe. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. People want a fucking ball pool bathtub in their bar, or they want a neon light in the back to take photos with.
That's a fad. It's a fucking
fad. That's just going to die in two years.
Right, and they just want it now because they don't have it.
Exactly.
Right, and you can't keep coming up with shit that people want in the moment, because once you give it to them, they want something else.
They want something else, But like coming in and feeling that genuine friendship, feeling that genuine love, that is something that will never, ever go out of date. And that is what we want to do. And for me, that will always be union. And that's very, very important. And I'm very, very passionate about that. So,
wow, that's an important, cheers on that.
Cheers.
But that's a really important distinction, because let's drink this real quick. But I see everywhere I go now, well, many places I go now, and you see the young people, mostly women, young females. They go to locations, they go to spots purely just to take pictures.
Sure, absolutely.
They're not really there to drink. They're not really there to socialize. They go there because they heard this cocktail was made really pretty, or the environment was really pretty, and it's become kind of like an internet sensation or whatever it is. So it's like a destination spot. They go, they take their pictures, they order
monetize narcissism, dude.
Yeah. And they order the drink, take their pictures, maybe take 1 or 2 sips, maybe, and then leave. Really, So that doesn't seem at all what's really happening with your bar. You guys are kind of creating that substance layer, right?
Right.
That layer of substance where...
Howie's like, where's that bar? I'm going.
But it's that substance where people really have a real reason to be there and stay there and go back there time and time again.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, I don't make a judgment on those type of bars. Dude, make your money, baby. You know what I'm saying? Make your money. do whatever you got to do, you know.
But is that? I want to get your professional opinion on that. Is that real? Like, is this? Because I don't know what bars Justin normally goes to. But, you know, of course, we see this, but I mean, come on. Like, Shanghai's a massive place. Sure. We go to the same places. We don't go out very much anymore. And we hear all these stories, right? And these narratives start kind of, coming out of, these narratives start getting invented. But is that really true? Like, I mean, you know, what is the demographic of people going to bars these days? And, you know, is it just people wanting to take pictures? Like, is that a significant customer segment at this point, or are we, you know,
we just did a study on this actually. We actually just paid a company to do a research study about this. So apparently in China, cocktail drinkers are 83% female. Are 83% female between the age group of 18 to 35 years
That's
old.
a huge percentage.
Which is a huge percentage.
Are
Right?
83%?
83%. 81 to 83, I forgot, but somewhere along the line.
83% female from 18 to 35.
18 to 35. Hard spirit, straight up whiskey and whatnot, right? Like, you know, actually the male percentage is actually not that higher than you think it is. It's 54% male.
Really?
Yeah.
It's half-half.
It's half-half.
Wow.
Essentially, you know, between 18 and 35.
And then is there a distinction between Shanghai and other cities, or is it just like China?
We're talking about China right now.
Just China.
Overall China.
Like Beijing, Shanghai, like
Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen.
but not the small, like little ones, right? Little cities.
Just include, like it was a study based on like 30 cities.
So it's pretty.
So
It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
So okay, so then does that also mean that if it's 54% hard spirit drinkers, 83% female for the cocktail drinkers, that most people go in the bars, the majority are female at this point?
Yes. For our bar, I mean, like, I'm not doing any studies, but like, I just look at the bar and I'm just like, they're mostly girls.
Yeah,
over
the
here,
eye
so.
test will tell you that as
Yeah.
well. Confirms that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. And then, okay, so then the second question is, I don't know if your survey covered this, is, you know, what's their thought process in choosing a bar? Is it, you know,
That's a great question.
is it like the Justin's observation? We see this is
Yes.
like, oh, people are like, you know, vlogging or bullshit. And
I mean, there is that. So, based on our study actually did cover this. Is that because, first of all, in cocktail bars as an environment as a whole, it's much more quiet compared to, you know, a lot of other like things like nightclubs or things like that. Right? Like, you know, so for
are you guys classified as any of these?
I mean, we're a cocktail bar, you know, and like you know, we're definitely somewhat quieter. We're not a nightclub, you know, like that going on. So
more chill.
It's much more chill, like and I think that like,
But more energy than a speakeasy, right?
more energy than a.
But your cocktails are also what you're known for, though.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, your cocktails are pretty much like some of the best. Like in China.
I mean, it's our product, right?
Right, it's your product.
But no, like first of all, like, you know, they require a place that, you know, that is, you know, there's a place where they can talk to their friends. You know, first of all, they look for that. Second of all, the female base, they are much more higher spender on experience versus guys. You know, like they like to go experience things. They like to go try new things. You know, lifestyle is important to them. You know, like us guys do. Like you know, we can just fucking like, you know, just go to a 路边摊 and like pound a few Qingdaos and we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it doesn't have to look fancy. It doesn't have to be anything like that. Girls, you know, their needs are a little bit different.
Well, this studio is not a 路边摊, by the way.
Yeah, this studio is great, guys.
This is the kind of the analogy for females, right? Like even females who come on the show are very impressed by the studio.
Right. You know, they also require, like, you know, just like this place, a more of an intimate environment.
Yeah.
You know, but also, like, you know, and then there's also the aesthetics of the cocktails and like, you know, the I guess like the romanticism that's attached to it and things like that.
But
you know,
it's experience, like you said.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, because, I mean, for me, if I'm gonna recount the past, I don't know, like year or two, of all the times I've gone out to have drinks. I don't go to clubs or anything like that anymore, but like through my work, right? And I work a lot with producers and stuff. I work in commercial industry shooting, and so a lot of producers are females, and a lot of times they'll get a whole bunch of people together for some drinks, stuff like that, and every single time, it's always been a small, quaint, like whiskey cocktail joint, and all these places is always somewhere different. I've never even heard of, and it's like 15 to 30 seats tops.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How many seats does UTC have?
44.
Okay.
Okay. And they walk in, and it's always like they know the name of the bartender.
Sure.
The bartender knows their name.
Sure.
And then it's always like, hey, it's like cheers, right? Every single time.
Right.
And I started noticing that. I'm like, wow. Every single time I go, it's like I've never heard of this name. I got Dianping. I have to get my way over there. I walk in. It's like a strip of a bar, a couple of seats in the back, very quiet. The bartender is like drinking and having conversations with all the guests. Majority female inside the bar, and it's just like that kind of vibe that you just described.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like when it comes to like picking out places to drink. Listen to the ladies, man.
Yeah.
Listen to the ladies.
They know.
They know. Dude.
I think it might be safe to say too, like, look, it's not out of the blue because based on the numbers, obviously we don't know the amount of consumption, but I think it's very realistic that the girls are out drinking the men in China.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
These days, yeah.
I can see that.
So did the survey say anything about like the group that the girls came with? Was it generally like the average number of people that come into the bar as a group, and was it like a guy and a girl, which is this traditional thing, right?
The largest groups are 2 and 3s, all female.
All female.
All female,
Exactly,
2 and
yeah.
3s. Yes.
Guys, we need to start going out more.
No, I think
But
that's good.
what I was going to go back again, talking about these kind of places, because I feel like if I'm going to analyze, because we're saying how it's kind of like a bit of a cultural shift.
Yes.
You have a lot more local add-on women that go out and have extra cash to spend on whiskey and cocktails, etc. But if you go back, and what were they doing before? Well, they were at restaurants, but like local restaurants, or like Yoshi, like like 桌游. You know what I mean?
Like
these
board games. And
or
things.
not, or maybe they were
or-
just at home.
Or they just go to 唱歌. You know what I mean? But now it's like they're like, okay, well, you know what? You could do the exact same thing, get our JMA and like friends together and have drinks at,
Well, Howie's an expert. I don't think how much did you pay for this company to do this research? Because you just asked Howie. He already knows.
But in a way, like, look, I'm not trying to be
Let me
like,
get your WeChat after this.
I'm not trying to be like all like elitist or anything like that, but in a way it is, I think, part of the internationalization of Chinese culture.
Sure.
Because before that, going out and hanging at a bar and grabbing cocktails or grabbing drinks with your girlfriends was not so much like a pastime here.
No, it wasn't.
Until they started getting more exposed to kind of Western media, right? Like, you have big popular shows like Sex and the City, right? Where you see a bunch of girls.
Girls go out, drink cocktails.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Girls' night out,
Yeah.
talking about guys,
Right.
Being promiscuous and drinking cocktails at bars and going to all these fancy places. And that becomes almost an aspiration.
I don't know what promiscuous means. I have no idea what promiscuous means, so I'm just laughing because Yao's
But you know what I
laughing.
mean, though, right? You know what I mean, though.
No,
right?
I don't know. I see
cut that
Yao
part out.
laughing.
Cut that part out. It's about the drinking, though.
Promiscuous. Oh, dear Lord, Justin. I don't know, man. I think there's a sexist joke somewhere in there, dude. I'm not gonna...
Look, there probably is. But look, I think it's a lot of exposure to this type of media, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be Sex in the City.
Yeah. Right.
But it's these type of things that kind of start slowly changing the way a lot of people, not just women, but even men, just see what it means to socialize.
I'm gonna
what
be
it
devil's
means
advocate here.
to spend some time out. Yeah.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate, right? I see where we're going with this, but I'm gonna be devil's advocate, right? Because, like I think there's a lot of Western sensibility. Like China's all fucking backwards and shit. The Chinese people don't know what the fuck's going on. I mean, we're all Chinese. They don't know what's going on. So the Western world has to like civilize them and teach them all this stuff, right?
Right.
No,
How
but
much-
you're taking that to an extreme.
No.
That's not what we're saying.
I'm
at
not
all.
attacking what you're saying. No, I'm not attacking what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, how much of this is truly their exposure to Western culture? Because we had Ben Cavender. You got to listen to the Ben show. It's awesome. He's consultant to like high level CEOs in China. But he said he made this really classical comment. America's, the biggest thing that America has done is export its culture, right?
Sure.
So how much of this is America and Western world exporting its culture versus the actual supply being there, like people just experimenting, like cool people, like, going to different restaurants, going to different bars, and people just experiencing different things and then actually creating a product that people want.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it could be both, right?
I honestly think it's both. But that's actually a really good point because, the whole pyramid of psychology, right? Like China is no longer that poor country where you gotta fight in the street for a fucking chicken anymore, right? Like, I'm saying, when you fulfill your needs for shelter and food, you look for better things, and that goes up to the whole entire pyramid.
Talk about
right?
Maslow's pyramid.
Maslow's pyramid, exactly.
Yeah, pyramid.
And so.
Justin had to just bust that shit out. Right? You just had to be like,
Maslow.
Maslow.
Well done, brother.
Wait, hold on.
Intellectual wink right there.
You know his first name? Okay, no. I don't either. So.
Donald
J. Maslov.
John.
Mazel tov.
I don't fucking
Anyway,
but I think there's a certain aspect of that, right? Like China is like the second largest economy in the world right now. It's much more prosperous than what it used to be, and so when that is achieved, people look for something different. People look for experiences. People. I don't want to say necessarily find the finer things in life because I think a lot of times people can't even define themselves. What are the finer things in life? But just something that's fun, something that's different. So I think there's that. Now, when it comes to drinking in a bar, that's very much of a a Western thing.
Well, okay, and let's tie this back, right? Because if you really zoom out and look at holistically the history, I mean, people have been let's just say drinking,
sure,
right? Not just like because earlier you said you drink a lot of tea and all that stuff, but let's just say drinking culture. If we really study this shit, I have no idea. I haven't studied it. Who was fucking first in terms of drinking tea and drinking shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it could have been China. So people have been drinking shit.
No, sure, but we're
Chinese wine.
We're talking about the environment in which they are drinking.
Yeah.
Like drinking itself. Like, I mean, China, obviously.
But what I'm saying is, like, I mean, I remember watching Kung Fu movies, right? And motherfuckers, like, all these Kung Fu guys. And,
Drunken Fist.
Yeah. And they go to these, like...
Gulping buys you out of bowls.
Yeah. And so I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, I'm not like I just don't know anything about this, but how long have people been getting together and drinking some alcoholic beverage
forever,
right?
Yeah. Forever.
And what did China have back in the day? But the cool thing is that the female representation, because I would imagine that like 2,000 years ago in whatever dynasty, like chicks weren't getting together drinking because they would be considered promiscuous, to use your term.
Well, maybe I don't know if that's considered promiscuous, but. Yeah, but it was probably frowned upon.
Back in the day, if you were a bunch of girls just getting together, probably
wouldn't happen. Even like early 20th century U.S.
Yeah,
like women in bars. That's not a thing.
So there's this whole feminine thing, right?
It's multiple reasons for this growth. Multiple reasons. And just like you said, the women's feminism movement is a huge one. Right, but them being able to be like, we don't need guys to buy us drinks. Back in the day, we go out. The girls never paid for anything.
Yeah.
And it's always the guys, paying for everything. I mean, this is just, I'm not being like chauvinistic. I'm just saying like, this is fact, like back in the day.
So, okay, with this dynamic then, right? How does this change what you need to do with and evolve your product?
Great question. I think
we're like 10 for 10 today. Justin asked like 7 good ones. I did like 3.
You don't need to keep score on the questions, man.
I think that it is, once again, when the core service, the core product itself is service and hospitality, right? Like, that will always be the underline. Now, the only thing that changes is your demographic. And so therefore, for us, especially this year, what was really, really important for us was to be much more sensitive to our service style, really, really have a deeper understanding of not necessarily, what's cool, at the time, like, what people really want, once again, going back to the whole fads and Instagram and bullshit like that. But like, what people really care about. Like, like, oh, right now, okay, cool. Our shift right now is a mostly female demographic. Well, that's cool, man. Like, we can focus our menu to, fit a better need for girls, and so, we focus a lot more on garnishes. The way that, and another thing too, like we're lucky at Union.
What's a garnish?
Huh? A garnish is like the way the drinks looks, like,
the presentation.
The presentation.
Like the toppings. Like if I put the parsley on,
so
on
it's the visual.
It's garnish.
Yeah,
like visual.
Yeah, visual.
But then what about the taste? Does the garnish change the taste?
It depends on what the garnish is for. But usually the garnish doesn't necessarily change the taste, but it tastes how it smells. So like a garnish with like a lemon twist on it. It's not just like a curly piece of lemon twist. It's like all the lemon oils that's on top of it.
Changes
so
the experience of it, though. Yeah,
as you're drinking it. So I like, like things like that. Like, we are. And here's the thing too. Like, I hate assigning gender to drinks because it's just not true. You know what I'm saying? Like I've known, girls who could fucking pound a lot more fucking whiskey than we can. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen guys who will, drink drinks out of coconuts any time of the day.
That's me.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's just nothing wrong with that. But like I hate doing that. But if we're talking about like a majority sense of the, based on the research that we did, we can, make the drinks look better. We tone down the more boozy stuff. Add, drinks that are a lot more fun. That creates different dynamics, as opposed to like completely based on classics. Our drinks can be a little bit more experimental, just a lot more fun to kind of look at.
What's, so I don't know for the listeners, right? Because I think we do get a slightly more, I haven't checked the data. Justin probably would know this, but we do get a slightly more female demographic. Slightly. Like
you mean for our podcast?
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's really interesting because
it's like three dudes talking about things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We
thought
thought we would be like hardcore dudes.
But
right? Like
from
you,
research,
like guys like you. We thought we would have like lots of yaos.
From the research I've done, the most currently in China, most podcast listeners are female.
Right on.
Not even our podcasters, just in general.
Yeah.
What do you
People
think
who
that
listen to podcasts are more female.
What do you think that is?
I have no fucking idea.
Justin's voice and then how he's just
No, it has nothing to do with
Hey.
our podcast, just in general as a
Right.
whole. People who listen to podcasts skew majority female.
So Justin, Yao mentioned, this placing a premium on the experience. Well, both of you talked about this, placing a premium on the experience, trying new things. Lifestyle is important, more intimate environment, all this stuff. It's really interesting. It's not just drinks, it's podcasts.
Sure.
Right? It's spending quality time. And we go back to like 2020 and you were saying, it's like, I just want to be happy this year. I just want to spend time with people like I care about. It's really interesting. Like
Thanks, buddy.
all along, right? For many, many thousands of years in a lot of areas, men have been defining like what the fuck's going on. Right? They've been inventing shit and doing all kinds of stuff, exploring new worlds. Man, it's like we haven't give women probably their due. And even in these small areas, like women are like starting to lead trends.
Absolutely.
Like I go to like a bar and sometimes I just order what would be considered the classical feminine thing.
Sure.
Because I'm like, that's just like, why do I have to fucking drink like
It's
you
more
know,
delicious.
some nasty
Yeah.
like 难喝的东西? I'm like, give me that shit. And
Absolutely, dude.
I feel like great. So it's
Absolutely.
weird, right? There's a lot of unconscious bias going on.
There's a lot of unconscious bias going on, and once again, that goes back to like what we talked about earlier, right? There's a lot of fucking self-judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like us, like especially like Asian males. There's a lot of self-judgment.
Yeah.
Because like the way that we were
Yeah.
raised, because the expectations
Yeah.
that are placed on us, right? Like,
But it also goes to like the whole face thing, right?
the
Like
whole face
面子
thing,
right?
And once again, what is face? Face is self-judgment.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
like
yeah.
like what I perceive to be.
It's in your fucking head.
It's in your fucking
in
head, dude.
America, they're like you like some bastard totally sucks, and their parents are like, oh, you're awesome, right? And then we grew up,
Right.
and you're like, we're like the best, and you're like, oh, you fucking suck.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit.
You're a piece
you
of
doctor
shit.
yet? Yeah,
exactly. It's like fucking
But see, that's an interesting point though,
not
because
his family though.
because we're talking about like we're kind of talking about like gender thing. We're talking about like guys, like we have a lot of expectations for ourselves, the way we see ourselves and face. But I think women in many ways have that even more so than men.
They do, absolutely.
Right?
And then there's a social construct.
Exactly,
of,
because women judge other women way more
Much harsher
harshly
than
than
men.
men judge men. Like we don't really care. Like if you're a cool guy, I like you. I don't really care what you wear or what you do. Like I mean,
we follow the
gross.
alpha, right? Men follow the alpha, whereas women.
But women are like extremely critical of each other, right? And you know, this is like the common saying, like women dress. What the reason why women buy handbags and nice shoes and the way they dress is not to impress men; it's to impress other females. You know what I mean? Guys don't care about which handbag.
I'm not
you
going to
have.
make a comment on any of this because like we are 4 guys with dicks, like talking about the female psyche.
are.
So it's like
We are.
I'm not going to get involved in this conversation.
Okay, so no, but
That's smart. That's smart.
It's a great topic, and so tell us about 1 or 2 drinks recently
Sure.
that you've introduced because you're really fine tuning and
Sure.
calibrating for your demographic, and I think
Absolutely.
we can all learn from that, right? We
Sure.
should start viewing the female sort of a lot of the interest as leading indicators, not lagging indicators.
Absolutely. So we just rolled out our winter menu. What? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and you know, like a few of our drinks. I can pull these photos out actually.
Yeah, please.
Once again, we are paying a lot more focus on, first of all, the aesthetics of the drinks, but also like, you know, like we're not doing it just for the aesthetics of the drinks, because you know, the bottom line is the drinks themselves need to be tasty.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know,
And do you
yeah.
find that a lot of times your patrons will request something that is not so boozy?
all the time,
Right?
All the time,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because I hear that all the time. They're like asking the bartender, like, okay, what is not so boozy?
Right. What
You
is
know
not so boozy? What's not too sweet? You know,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
right? Like, you know, so like the process of creating a cocktail is always, first of all, understand the season that you're rolling this cocktail out of. So if we call this our winter season, well, let's look for what's available during the winter time.
Okay, what are winter thingy?
Like warm
wintery
drinks?
things?
Warm drinks,
Sweeter?
not necessarily, but more spice heavy. So
Maybe heavier drinks, like some dairy in there as well.
dairy, cinnamon, chocolate, cloves, anise, cognac,
Make you feel warmer.
figs. You know,
So it's very culinary, this whole thing.
Deeper spices like rosemary, like thyme. You know what I'm saying? Like those are all very winter things. You
It's
know,
more heavy, actually.
Huh?
Right? Could you say it's more heavy and summer's more light? Could you say something like that? or
In
no?
a way,
Yeah?
in a way, I think in people's perspectives, in reality, that might not always be the truth.
Okay.
but that's what people perceive.
It's
you
the
know?
association.
It's the association with it. Like for example, like this is one of the drinks on our new menu. You know, it's called a Figgity Fizz.
That looks really
So-
nice.
What
That
are
looks
those
very
flowers?
awesome.
Huh?
Okay, what are the...
Mantianxing.
Okay, I'm going to read the... okay,
What is
so
Mantianxing in English?
Jasmine,
I have no idea.
London dry gin, fresh figs, creme de violette, honey, citrus, and Perrier. Oh, it's
Can I borrow this for a second?
cheap
It's a little bubbly, you know.
It looks beautiful though.
So essentially, it's a classic cocktail called an aviation. It's like aviation plus a Tom Collins with figs in it, with figs and honey. Figs are a late fall, early winter kind of fruit, you know. So we utilize that. I think that's got a really
Figs
good
are pretty
flavor to it.
awesome because like a lot of dishes too, right? Food dishes.
Yeah, like you know, figs are delicious.
I'm hungry.
When are you not hungry?
I'm always by
every
the
show.
way, I'm always hungry every show.
Every show.
Nothing wrong with that.
Grab a
Eric
bite.
is
Nothing wrong with that.
bottomless pit.
I want some tater. Like what are the tots? Like
Tachos?
Tachos. I want
Yes,
tachos.
sir.
Tachos are one of the best dishes at UTC.
What are tachos?
Oh my god, dude.
Stop.
Do you know what tater tots are?
Of course.
Do you know
You
what
like nachos?
Are?
Of course.
How dare you ask him?
So
Both.
replace tortillas with tater tots.
Wait, can we go? Wait, can we go? After this, can we go to Union Trading Company? Can we
let's
go?
let's
Can we go?
yes, please.
Tachos,
Yeah, I
baby.
was like, we're not open on Sundays.
We are open on
Sorry,
Sundays.
they are.
Please come on Sundays, guys.
By the way,
Clean out your entire inventory.
by the way, I've been saying UTC, but UTC is Union Trading Company. By the way,
Everybody
Union.
calls us UTC.
Yeah, but some of the listeners viewers might not.
But yeah, man, like you know, like that's just an example for one of the drinks, right? Like you know, the drink itself, like you know, it's easy, it's refreshing, it's delicious. You know, it matches all things that are winter.
Yeah.
You know, and then we just you know. Make it look good because also like you know like not just females quite frankly like even guys too like when I pull this out this photo
Yeah.
you guys are like that's a good looking drink
It is.
you know what I'm saying like you know it captures the eye
Okay.
either way so,
So I'm gonna ask this really strange question now. Okay, so analytics are huge, right? Like I mean, like we were talking about basketball earlier,
Yes.
all this shit, right? Like analytics, even you know, and the vaccine testing. Like I mean, analytics is a huge part, right? But where they do different sort of samples, like different groups, and then test A/B testing and stuff like that. Do you guys use analytics, like other than the research? Do you do real time analytics of like what drinks are working and not working?
We're doing more of it, yes. We started doing it about 2 years ago, where we really look at the sales and
like
understand
what drinks are moving or not.
What drinks are moving, what are not, and then we do a breakdown of why these drinks are moving, why these are not.
Can you do it by demographic? Like guy versus girl, right? So then you might find that drink is more. What is it called?
Figgity fizz.
Figgity fizz.
It's cheeky. It's figgity fizz. You know. Yeah.
Figgity fizz.
Rolls off the tongue.
Well, how much data are you collecting during each sale in terms of like how do you know if this like customer was a male or female when you're looking at it, or do you even keep track of that?
Right.
That's a really good question. We actually do not keep track of male versus female, which. Actually, you know what?
Maybe
we
probably
should.
Yeah.
Start doing that. Actually,
it's just an extra button to click on the POS.
Giving you gold right here, Yao.
Right on.
It's just another button to click on the POS.
Absolutely.
Good point. But
no, like we do analytics on breaking down what drinks sells better, what drinks doesn't sell as much, why.
How do you break down why though? Like
why?
How do you find out? How do you find that out?
This is literally just asking questions, just talking to your guests, you know. So one thing I realized about when people order cocktails, right? Like, you know, because and I say this to everybody who works in bartending and, you know, claim to be mixologists and shit like that. It's just that, like, look, man, unless you're a bartender, people don't know half the fucking shit that's in your drink. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, like if you're not a bartender, no one knows what fucking Lillet Blanc is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, creme de violette.
They look
like,
at it, they're like, what is that? I don't know.
You know what?
Like, you know, like,
okay,
nobody knows that
recently,
shit. Like, you know,
I'm like trying to figure out like what's fucking vermouth.
Right. So a vermouth is a
most basic.
fortified.
Shut up.
Spice.
What is vermouth? You motherfucker. Okay. What is vermouth?
I don't know what exactly it's made of, but I know what it tastes like.
Yeah. So you don't even know. Okay.
Right. No. I mean, exactly. Vermouth, such a common ingredient used in so many classics, and people don't know what the fuck it is.
It's like
right?
it's wine based, right?
Yes. So vermouth is a fortified, meaning that it's a wine with hard liquor added to it to raise the alcohol level, infused with sugar and different types of spices. It's a wine. It's a wine. That's what it is. It's a spiced, sweet wine. That's what vermouth is. It's German for wormwood. There you go. Little trivia that you guys can impress the girls, ladies, next time.
Okay.
But no, like in terms of why, well, you just ask people, right? Like, you know,
So it's a conversation.
it's a conversation. It always is. Like, you know, when we realize, like, you know, people don't understand half of what they're ordering, and so therefore, it's up to us to explain to people. Well, tell you what, fuck the menu, talk to me, right? Like, you know, what are you into, right? Like, you know, and the questions are always like, you know, do you like something sweet? Do you like something sour? Do you like something bitter? Do you like something boozy? Like talk to us.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's something in between, right? You know, and then we can recommend something, because prior to doing that, what we realize is that because people don't understand the menu, they gravitate towards that one thing. They're just like,
They've
oh,
heard or
this
whatever.
drink's got almonds in it.
Yeah.
So this drink tastes like fucking almonds, which it really doesn't. You know, it's just a component to boost everything else. And then there's a fall off of expectations. And people are just like, oh, this doesn't taste like almonds. This kind of sucks. This is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
But also, there's like when you do it the way you were just talking about before, where you're having a conversation with your client, where you're like, "What are you into? What do you like? What's your taste profile?
Yeah.
Like, what are some other drinks you enjoy
Totally.
that you've had before?"
Yes.
That's when, and then you make a drink based off of the information you collect.
Sure.
That's when the real value of the bartender shines,
absolutely.
right? Because anyone can just learn how to make a drink and just make it
Anyone can follow a
repetitively,
recipe,
right?
dude. Yeah.
But that's the real value of having a great bartender, right? And it's just that
It's like, let me take care of you tonight, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah.
It's like you know, sitting at a sushi bar and a great sushi chef can like make you like sushi on the
Absolutely.
spot just based on what you're liking.
It used to all be about classics. I totally agree, Justin. It's all about classics. And then now, like, I mean, I was going with like Anne, you know, to bars recently, and it's all about the interaction. It's all about and you know, there's
always
there's
is.
Because truth be told, you don't even know what the hell they're saying.
there's a lot
in the
of
menu.
I mean, there's a lot of you know, bars out there, and like and the standard is rising. The standard is rising.
Sure.
When you go in there and you're just like, oh, like where you're from? Like, oh, I'm from Shenyang or whatever.
Right.
Man, there's cool motherfuckers
Yeah,
out there.
man.
Like the Svens and the Leos of the world.
I love it.
They're fucking.
I love it.
Like I love being Chinese right now. There's no better fucking time to be Chinese right now, man. Like it's
Tell
crazy.
it, brother. Absolutely.
It's like
man.
I fucking love being like fucking Zongguo, you know what I'm
Damn
saying?
right, dude.
Yeah, and I think that positions you really well, Yao, going forward is that you kind of already have a footing here and a really good one at that. And then now with kind of like everything we're talking about in terms of the development of China, and especially in the hospitality industry where you're in, like, I mean, it's kind of really cliche to say, but the sky is really the limit for you in terms, and it really just depends on how you're going to roll with the punches.
Sure.
And how you're going to keep light on your feet and stay at, like, being able to adapt to the changes.
Totally. And I appreciate you saying that. And once again, I think, and I said this multiple times this podcast, but this goes back to, once again, exactly that, right? Like, I'm trying to lower my expectations on things. I'm trying to completely fucking cut out self-judgment in my life. In self-judgment, it's a very fine line between just being completely selfish and just be like, well, fuck people and their opinions, right? Versus just me judging myself, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but how was that hurting you before, this whole self-judgment thing? Because it seems like, because you brought it up.
Because when you're self-judgmental, you're having a negative conversation with yourself. And when you're having a negative conversation with yourself, it hits your self-esteem, it hits your confidence, it hits your decision-making. Now, if you want to be more practical about it, is that, first of all, you're hesitant about the decisions that you make. You are hesitant to make bolder moves because you think that, in your own mind, like, it's not, it doesn't fit the social norms and what people think of you.
And you're probably making decisions for the wrong reasons, too.
And you're making decisions based out of fear.
Yeah.
You're making decisions based out of fear, out of hesitancy, and other people's expectations. And that doesn't take you very far, because you put your cage on yourself.
So there was a period of time where you caught yourself doing that?
Absolutely. And,
was that this year during, like, the whole COVID thing, or was that
It was the beginning of this year. It was the beginning of this year, and especially the whole entire when COVID hit, and when Union, we were required to start doing more things to whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. There was a point where my ego hurt a little bit. I thought that I should never been in this position, fucking delivering cocktails. Are you kidding me, dude? You know what I'm saying? That's not what a bar's about. You know what I'm saying? But whatever, dude. These are necessary steps. And these are steps that helped. And these are steps that actually did not diminish our reputation in our brand. If anything, it helped it. And so as you're moving on and as you're making more and more of these decisions, sitting in front of your team and telling them that, man, fuck, dude, we might be fucked. These are not easy conversations, but they're necessary conversations. And the more you do it, the more you realize this is not a big deal, and this is necessary, and this is what you got to do. And so if you got to fucking do it anyway, feel good doing it.
That makes so much sense. I mean, basically, I've been reading about the psychology of finance and money and all that shit, but survival is not a big ego. Survival is actually the prerequisite to success. Because if you're dead, there ain't no fucking success.
What's the point? Exactly.
Yeah, it's like investment, right? It's like they're like, there's not ego, right? If you're dead, you can't go on.
Yeah, I think what you say is easily translatable to any venture. Any business, any position that you're in, actually, that type of mentality.
Sure.
Right? It's not just what you're doing right now, with bar business and being entrepreneurial, but it could be in anything.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you're saying as well, Eric.
What really impresses me, I work in, I do a lot of, kind of organizational development work, right? Where you're trying to drive the success of the organization through your people. Yeah. And I love it when I talk to someone, from a different industry completely. Like we've talked to Howie a lot about, being a director, producer, all that stuff. It's all through your people, right? But you've talked about internal development of your team.
Yes.
You've alluded to people, spending a couple of years really getting sharp at what they do and then going on to bigger successes, right? Yeah. You've talked about leadership strategy, working with Bobby and learning the ropes. You talk about running a business. So, to Howie's point about this being universal, what advice would you give, people that are starting anew, resetting a little bit. 2021, everyone, I know it's artificial, right? But having a clean slate is a great mental, kind of technique. But like for people that are trying to start something new, what advice would you give them based on, like all of your learnings, both from Anvil and then like the last 6.5 or however many years, like running your business?
First of all, do it now. Like, just fucking do it.
Just do it.
Just fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can, us as human beings, we have this ability to fucking overanalyze everything, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's me.
And
Everybody.
And once again, going back to the old topic of self-judgment, like we overanalyze because we tell ourselves, well, what if this doesn't work out?
We make the consequences so dire where we like have to analyze everything, right?
And then we choose to make the consequences actual consequences. We define what consequences are in our own fucking mind. It's like, well, if this doesn't happen, I'm doomed. Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you really though? You know what I'm saying? Like, so like if you want
like really, what's the worst that can happen?
really, are you gonna die?
Hopefully not.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever that you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like do it. Don't overthink it. Do be smart about it. Not like just go in bullheaded, bullish.
Have a plan.
Have a plan. Have a plan. But do it first of all. Second of all, once again, understand whatever that you decide to do. You're doing this to make you happy. You're not doing this to make $2 trillion. Maybe you are. If that makes what makes you happy, then so be it. Good for you. You know what I'm saying? And I hope you all the success in the world. But do it to make you happy, man. You know what I'm saying? You are starting a podcast because you love doing this and you love having really cool, genuine conversations with people. I want to start a YouTube channel because I love talking to people, sharing knowledge, and also like the whole media aspect of it, right? I love running a bar because I love taking care of people, and hosting and being hospitable. Like do it because you love it.
Yeah.
And also another thing too, don't believe in the whole hype. It's like, oh, if you do what you love, you're never working a day in your life. That's bullshit, dude. You know what I'm saying? We all fucking burn out.
Work is work.
You know what I'm saying? Work is work at the end of the day, but it's significantly better than the alternative. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like what you're saying. It's like at the end of the day, just have to simplify things,
Simplify things, be happy, work towards happiness, I think is the most important thing. And understand.
Let that be your North Star, like what you were saying in the beginning. North Star,
man. Happiness, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can have fucking $5 in your bank account. It's not ideal, but if you're a jolly old person that's happy about it, fuck it, dude. Good for you.
And do it for your own reasons, not because
do it for your own reasons. Amen.
Your parents are pressuring you to do something or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. A lot of time we're brainwashed. If you think about it,
most of the time,
we're very easily
99% of the time.
So think about it, right? Like all day we're bombarded by social media, right? Yes. That is telling us what our expectations,
what you should be,
social media, parental guidance, government,
and what is it telling
your peers,
us? Well, what is it telling us, right? It's telling us we're not good enough. There's something better out here, and some random stranger is doing stuff that this is what you should be doing, and this is what you should love, right?
Actually, you know what? I'm so glad you said that because that is a follow-up advice that we were talking about. This is that be very fucking careful who you listen to in terms of your advice, right? For example, just example purposes, right? If I decide that I'm going to start doing a YouTube video. Right, I'm gonna start doing a YouTube channel, and then fucking Howie over here comes by and tell me dude, you know what, the YouTube market, it's saturated, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah, right? It's not the best opportunity.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, right? But then you kind of look back and be like, well, how many fucking YouTube videos have you done? You know what I'm saying? If fucking PewDiePie comes around and just be like, yeah, dude, don't fucking do it. But you know what?
Maybe,
I ain't doing it.
And even maybe then, maybe you might not even want to listen, but you can consider it.
Exactly. Listen to the advice.
Yeah. Who is your source?
Who is your source, dude? Do they have any experience in the thing that you want to do?
Yeah.
And who the fuck are they to tell you that you're not fucking good enough to do it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck them, dude. Listen,
and you don't know, right? And I think that this credibility piece is super important. And the other piece, like the credibility piece, doing your research, but the other piece that you just kind of alluded to is that this North Star concept is you have to know very clearly what your personal reasons are for doing things. Why? Okay, you have to listen to yourself because you're the motherfucker that has to live with yourself.
Yeah.
You have to live with yourself,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So you can watch some shit, right? You can listen, you can be like, oh, Justin's a badass, like he started THD, but you can, maybe this is, you're not a podcast, you don't want to start a podcast, but you're like, you see Justin, you're like, okay, he's a badass, I'm going to do a podcast. But ultimately, you are the person that has to live with yourself every day.
Thank
so
you.
if you don't know
Thank
your
you.
North Star, so I think one of the big problems is that we have all this noise. Everyone's telling us that they know what the North Star is, right? Everyone's telling you what the North Star should be.
Right.
The only fucking person that can figure out what the North Star is you,
It's you, man.
in consultation with the 5 or 10 people in the world that love you the most.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
we got together, the three of us got together, and we decided our North Star was each other, was one thing. It was
Well, even like you said, like I 100% agree. But even those 5 or 10 people around you, they're just consultation.
Right.
You need to keep that in
Right.
mind.
Right.
At the end of the day, you need to make up your own
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
No matter what they're saying, you can take it into account, use
Yeah.
it, you can trust it, but you still need to make
Yeah.
up your own decision and
Well, to
do
your
what
point-
you need to do.
To your point, Justin, the most important person that you need to convince is yourself.
Amen. Absolutely.
Right? But
Truth
then it's
to that.
nice to get the 5 or 10 people to check things off, just to make sure
Yeah.
you're not like, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go, do something really stupid with my life.
Right.
And I expect you to help me not do that.
Well, look, Yao, it was absolutely an honor talking to you today. Thank you so much
It's
for
a
coming
pleasure,
on.
man. Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad I got to meet you today because, I mean, obviously you're an awesome person, but I think there's so much in common. I'm not trying to compare my podcast to what you do at Union Trading Company. You have much more accolades than this podcast
Yeah,
probably will ever
dude.
have. But I think there's a lot of crossover in the sense that you're kind of looking for the substance underneath it all, right? And you're trying to create real value in what you offer more than just a commercial product.
Yes.
And you're trying to really engage with people and kind of share an experience and story with people and meet new people through kind of what you do. And that really kind of resonates with me. And I think there's a lot of crossover and overlap with that in terms of kind of what we're trying to achieve with this podcast as well. Like, this is our excuse for drinking. Like you say, you don't really drink that much. Amen, brother. We don't really drink that much. So this is one of the reasons why we love doing this podcast so much, is because this is kind of our excuse to meet new people, get together and have some drinks.
Like,
Otherwise,
we drink and we
don't
learn,
go out.
you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really appreciative of you. And I think in many ways I look up to you and all that you've accomplished here, and just keep going, brother. I mean, keep on succeeding, keep on doing what you do. And we'll be there definitely supporting you and enjoying
Just
everything you offer.
I'll say this, dude. Like everything that you said, I appreciate it, and likewise, quite frankly, what I love about this is that, this actually recreates the experience at a bar. Really, it's just 4 friends coming together, having a drink, really just talking shit at the end of the day.
That's kind of the genesis of this podcast.
But it's real. Like that goes back to everything. It's real. It's genuine. This shit's real, man. You guys are fucking doing something real, and this is a beautiful thing. So, guys, congratulations on your fucking podcast. This is such a cool fucking channel, and I love everything you guys are doing. So, congrats to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much, Al. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, brother.
Hey, I'm super appreciative, grateful, Justin, Howie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay,
of course.
wait,
we
but-
always bromance the fuck out after every episode.
I love Howie and Justin.
We get a few drinks in us and we start
Yeah,
bromancing
no,
every time.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Hey,
core of the show.
we've been doing this for 18 months, right? If we didn't love it, we wouldn't do it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, but one last thing then. Yao, tell us about projects coming up this year. Let
What's coming up
everybody
this
know.
year? I love it. A plug. So, Union Trading Company, we're still going strong. We just literally had
Where
it.
is Union Trading Company,
Union
by the
Trading
way?
Company is on 丰阳路64弄2号.
Near Fuxinglu, right?
Right on the
Super-
cross street of Fuxinglu. Look for the black entrance in the gold letters.
Yep. Gold letters.
Great neighborhood.
Apart from that, I just opened my own consulting company called Standard Measure and Company.
Do you have a website?
Abbreviation SM and Co. Instagram coming soon. Not yet.
Cool.
You know, we have taken on a few. You know, we've taken on a few big clients like the Xiamen Andaz, like the Park Hyatt in Suzhou, the Park Hyatt in Shanghai.
That's big, man.
That's huge.
You know, the bottle opener building that everyone talks about. Yeah, we fucking did that. You know,
Wow, that's big.
You know, with the other few consulting projects as well. So, you know, if anybody wants to open a bar, you know, do a hospitality concept, and like, you know, need any help, we're here for you.
Is there a way to reach you?
Yes, you can follow my Instagram, Yowzer, at YAOZZER.
We'll put your Instagram link in the description
Thank
as
you.
well. Wait, hold on though, because I didn't know this. The bottle opener building in Shanghai, which is right now probably which is the tallest, but the most like prominent building in the Shanghai skyline right now.
Yeah, we did their bar.
You did their bar.
We did their bar. Yeah.
So like, what did you actually do with them? Like really quickly, because I don't want to drag this on.
Okay, so when it comes to consulting projects, a few step-by-steps, right? Like, first of all, understand who your client is and know what they want, right? Like, you know, people have different needs, but the general basics of things is that, you know, we design their cocktail menu, we train their, we recruit their staff, we train their staff, and then like, you know, we put that company culture in terms of working with a team and understanding hospitality. You know, that is my approach to everything. Is always
so it's really your baby, like, you know, like you don't own it, but
pretty
it's like
much,
it's your baby. You
pretty
created.
much, you know, because it is a formula that I truly believe in, and I think that as long as you are a real place with real hospitality and real genuine service, that comes across the board. You know? Like drink stores sell. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know, but quite frankly, a glass of old fashioned is a glass of old fashioned. You know, it's about the person that serves you that. You know. And that's the value of it, right?
Hey, look,
You're
there's a lot of lessons, and
you're spreading your
today.
DNA and seed all over China. Like,
Jesus.
awesome.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
There you go.
I don't know if I like the way that sounded, but all right.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
I think that's the first time Yao has ever exclaimed Jesus.
Loudy.
All right.
All right, man.
Let's
Well,
toast to that.
Toast
Cheers
that,
to you,
guys.
brother.
Cheers to you
you.
guys. Thank you guys
Cheers,
so
y'all.
much.
Thank you.
All right, THD listeners, that was Yao. Check out Union Trading Company in Shanghai. Have a drink with us there sometime.
Yeah.
But we'll be there.
Maybe we should do an offline event.
Yeah, because we've been talking
We've been talking about doing an offline
events.
event. Honestly.
Yo.
And people, but actually, I've been getting messages being like, when's the offline event?
Yeah, I was like, wet t-shirt parties, podcast. No.
All the
Why don't we
foam.
do? Okay, if
All
we
the
did,
foam.
Wait, hold on.
It's
If
either
we-
Hooters or Union
If we
Trading.
did no, if we did podcast and wet t-shirt, would that pass your bar?
For you boys? Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No, but that's actually a good idea.
Yeah,
Do an
yeah.
offline event
Yeah, we should do
and
that.
then host it here.
Definitely.
Host that to Union Trading Company for sure. But anyway, be good, be well. I think there's a lot of intrinsic value in what was said today, especially from Yao and the lessons you can learn from his kind of journey and his experiences. And I'm going to continue to think about them for sure. But anyway, guys, love you all. Be good, be well. I'm Justin.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Howie.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
But as the sun will see.
That was